Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. We are not going to be joined by a guest immediately, but there will be a guest here very shortly, and Nick Akridge from Pro Football Focus to go over and get his thoughts on yesterday's game, obviously this being Sunday night, against the Jets, what we all learned, what we all saw, and we can be able to pick Nick's brain. But because of that, the title of tonight's episode is Buzzing the Tower, in terms of what Jayden Daniels kind of did on that one play that Coach Dan Quinn talked about in his press conference. So before we get started in answering fan questions and everything like that, just want to get your guys' opinions, Hall, of the game yesterday. If not just the starters, but overall, what's like one key word that you would to describe yesterday's game?
I would say excited. Obviously, it was just like a really small sample size of the offense, but because I didn't watch the game because I was coming back from I had worked Saturday morning with Pat, got a couple overtime hours, or whatever, and I was gonna make it home in time, but then my brother was up here from Richmond. He was like, "Hey, trying to come scoop me," and I was like, "All right, whatever." I turned around because I was in Rockville. Anyway, long story short, I was listening to it on the radio, and yeah, just encouraged from what I was hearing, what I was listening to on the radio, just seeing some of the clips and some of I saw someone posted the whole first drive. I like how Cliff Kingsbury, and throughout the game, because I did watch some of the game once I got home, I liked how he was switching up the formations. He was getting creative with the play calls. Loved the goal line, the red zone stuff that they were doing. So it was all basic and simple stuff, but definitely excited for what the offense could be and for this team to what it's going to look like if they could finally score some points and average puts over 21 points on the board and help the defense out. So if I had to put one word, I would say excited.
I would say fresh. It was like a fresh breath of air, because what we have seen as of late with this football team, it's hard to put it into words, but basically last season it was so hard to be able to see them string drives together and be able to get the ball downfield and move the football. With the offense yesterday, you didn't it felt like each unit was able to go down the field. You know what I mean? They were able to get the ball out. They were able to move the ball. And the offensive line, I think, was huge. And obviously the Jets benched all their starters, right? They had 28 starters out. 11 plus 11 is 22. So plus 6, they had, 28 people out. But that being said, Washington was able to move the ball. And obviously they were without their top 3 offensive tackles. But, dude, from the start of that game, they were able to run the ball fundamentally. Brian Robinson was picking up 5 to 6 yards a carry. You saw linemen getting out in space, out in the sidelines, being able to get out in front. Cole Turner blocking his butt off, pushing the DN to the back of the end zone on Jayden Daniels' touchdown run. John Bates blocking 2 separate defenders on that one touchdown run. I thought it was really, really cool to be able to see that because of years past, it felt like things just took a while to get going, and you never really got that feeling yesterday. It felt fresh. It felt new. It felt like a re-energizing kind of energy, you could say, and that's my biggest takeaway from yesterday is it totally felt new.
Yeah, and I mean, you could point to majority of the rookie class coming in and playing well. I mean, obviously, we know Jayden Daniels, what he did, that dot that he audibled into down the sideline, that 42-yard absolute dime. And then, I mean, you saw Trezon Newton getting in on plays. You saw Mike Sainer still. He was.
Are you sure that Johnny Newton played?
Didn't Johnny Newton had a tackle in the backfield?
Pretty sure he did not play. Just saying.
No, he had a tackle in the backfield, Kyle. So think before you speak.
He did
no, think before you speak.
All right.
No, I don't think he played. He might not have played. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I saw something that I thought said Newton, that I thought said 95, but actually now that I'm remembering, it was actually KJ Henry and it was 55. So
yes.
My bad, fuckers. Sainer still, you always saw him around the ball. You saw Jordan McGee around the ball. Obviously, Snot made that huge play. And then, dude, How about the fucking hot ass quarterback, Sam Hartman, slinging that ball around, looking like the vet that he is? I'll tell you what, man, that boy keeps that up. I'd like to buy a calendar. I think Sam Hart, honest to God, I think, and like this is a lot of people are like, hide your girl, Sam Hartman's around.
That's
Sam
just
Hartman's
you.
so hot. Sam Hartman's so hot. I might have to hide my dad, dude. This dude might be able to bang my dad. That's how hot he is. Do you know how emasculating that would be? That would suck.
Where is already 5 minutes in? We're already sideways. But you brought up a great point because I felt like the quarterbacks played their asses off yesterday. I was able to watch the all 22 today. Jeff Driscoll throws a ball to Diami Brown for a first down and just watches the defender come in and clean him, like hit him right in the chin strap. But he's able to fastball right to Diami for a first down. And then like we've seen guys like Disco on Twitter ask, "Did you have a problem with Jayden Daniels basically not having permission to change that play and going ahead and doing it himself, right? And kind of talking about it being buzzing the tower." So let's just talk about it real quick, Hall. What was your thought on that?
Yeah, no, I didn't have a problem with it because if this is it's a preseason game, yes, so like you don't want to pull like show your cards and whatever you want to call it, but this is supposed to be like okay, we're supposed to be like real live game situations. So in a real live game situation during the regular season, if he sees something he doesn't like at the line of scrimmage or sees something that okay, I can check into this play and take a shot and give my chance a guy to win on the outside instead of throwing a screen pass when, like he said, everyone was within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage would have been a dead play. So if you want him to go out there and do real live game stuff and like get real live game reps, even though it's a preseason game, then you should be let him. You shouldn't have a problem with him doing what he would do in a real live regular what would happen in a real live regular season game. So didn't have a problem with it. Love his football IQ. Love that he checked out the play. Love that De'Ami Brown he threw a dime to De'Ami. Love that De'Ami caught it.
Dude.
So yeah, I loved everything about that. And if you had a problem with it, then you should reevaluate yourself.
Yeah, because in years past with these quarterbacks, I've made the comment that I don't want to use the term like taking command of the offense, but making the offense their own. It's not like something that they are taking from the OC. Like this is their offense. This is what they're doing. And Jayden Daniels showcasing that in his first preseason game of his first drive really showed me that this is his team, that this is his offense. And that's what it said to me. And then like when we recorded on Wednesday, I wasn't really worried about the stats so much, but I was much more worried about the situational football aspect, third downs, because I've said this for a while that being able to see the trajectory of a quarterback, you have to see what they do on third downs and in situations. And that third down throw, which everyone knows that's like a three-pointer, a low percentage shot, right, on a 3rd and 6. And what the original call was for a screen, and he pulls it to a go route for everybody. And then putting that, like, it was very similar to a play that I showed on Twitter from his LSU days where it was just a sniper shot, that go route on the sideline and puts it only where the wide receiver can catch it. And for Diami, who's been catching 500-plus balls after every practice, every day, being able to bring that down with one hand through contact with the corner on his back and trying to hit that ball out, it really speaks a lot to Diami and it speaks a lot to Jayden. And then the red zone play itself, I think Jayden showed me everything that he needed to show. The situational awareness, having control, having command of this offense, I think spoke volumes about what he did. Chris Paul playing right tackle, starting at right tackle, doing a very good job in that breath. Trent Scott starting at left tackle. I think Mason Brooks, as much as people want to beat him up and how he played at left tackle for the remainder of the game, I think that is somebody that deserves a hat tip because it's not what he was brought in to do. But he's out there playing left tackle and he's trying his butt off and he's trying to keep his quarterbacks upright. And you can't ask for anything more. The running backs did their job, and the most important aspect of it all is that nobody turned over the football. And I think that was probably one of my biggest glaring takeaways from this game is they were able to get extended plays, third down. They were able to get the ball downfield and continue the chains. When they're in the red zone, they were able to convert. And it's unfortunate about the kicking game, but Reed, about that buzzing of the tower.
Nobody actually has a problem with it. If anybody has a problem with that, let me put it like this. People that have a problem with it are the same people that hate Colorado football and wanted to watch LSU women's basketball lose. There's a reason that they hated it. I'm just no, but it was you want to see that from your rookie quarterback, don't you? I mean, that's what you would think. Like, this is his first action. He's doing it that early. I understand people are like, he's going to get, but like, come on, this is dumb, dumb.
Yeah, and this isn't like J.J. McCarthy in the third quarter going against, fourth string guys, and everyone gassing him up a little bit. But Jayden Daniels, 2 for 3, 45 yards, 1 carry for 3 yards and 1 touchdown. Jeff Driscoll, 7 of 15, 87 yards, 3 carries for 23 yards. The times that he did keep the ball in his hands, my goodness, did he look good. And then Sam Hartman, 8 of 13 for 83 yards, 2 carries for 18 yards. I thought all 3 quarterbacks, look, I don't think we should include Marcus Mariota. He literally had 3 plays. But the 3 quarterbacks, they showed decisiveness, they were quick to their decisions, and they were accurate with the football. And I think that's very monumental. I think it's very funny about Jayden because, like, my one critique of Jayden in the pre-draft process was that, like, the short to medium range throws. Do you guys remember us talking about this? And that first throw he has, he throws it
Yeah,
over
it
Eckler's
was
head,
like,
right?
oh
And then
shit,
comes right back and just throws that dart to
dude,
Diami,
that was
man.
so pretty too. It was only where Diami could get it. Beautiful. That's my
Absolutely
boy.
beautiful. We're not used to that. But the fact is, him doing the buzzing of the tower, him taking command of that offense, I think there is no doubt in our mind that that is the starter of this football team. That is whose football team this is, and I'm all ready for it. Guys, let's get into our fan questions before we are joined by our guest. Hull, this one is from Scoot. Thank you, Scoot, on Twitter through DM. Trying to understand the positions in the game more. So aside from his frame, help me understand, what does Forbes have trouble doing that makes him baby food on the outside to a lot of receivers while being a first round pick? And do you think his play will be good enough for him to start by week 1?
Uh, See, that's the thing. Like, he shows like a couple. He's just really inconsistent. He'll have a rep or two where he'll have great leverage. He'll play to the receiver's inside hip. He'll fight through the receiver and make the pass break up, or he'll sit in the zone and read the route combination, the route concept, read the quarterback size, make a play. And then you see what happens on like on a fade route or like a go ball or whatnot. And to me, it's just I know a lot of people are saying that they want to see him get more physical at the line of scrimmage, get his hands on the receiver, kind of mess up the timing of the route and whatnot. But from what I'm seeing is he's getting whenever the receiver's coming out of his route and he's heading into his break, he's getting pretty much out physical at the top of the route and when the receiver's coming in and out of his breaks. And it's causing him to kind of lose leverage. He's playing with bad leverage. His technique is kind of inconsistent. He's kind of all over the place with it. So I just think that if he was a little bit more consistent, he might have a chance to maybe get on the field week 1. But right now, it's just so inconsistent. I think that it would probably be Mike Davis and I guess probably St. Juice on the other side of him. But yeah, I think for me, I think that it's just his leverage is like inconsistent. His technique is all over the place. It's inconsistent, and he's just getting out physical a lot of the time, whether it's at the line of scrimmage or the receiver coming in and out of his breaks and trying to create separation through that.
Yeah, and I said on Twitter the other day, Scoot, that if you don't have the size, if you don't have like the frame, so to speak, you make up for that with short area quickness, with closing speed. With Emmanuel Forbes adding 17 pounds, you see the lack of that speed, right? Because when he is going against these wide receivers, it does seem like he's a step off, right? It seems like he's just one step slow. And for a guy that's thinner framed, you don't expect that because, yeah, you can be thinner framed. But if you have the short area quickness to be able to come up and hit that ball away, I'm not concerned about the contact because you shouldn't be making contact with the wide receiver at all if you're playing perfect corner reps. You should be able to be a mirror and just cover everything that guy is doing. If that ball gets close, swat it out of the air. So with Emmanuel Forbes, it seems like even though the way his body frame is, it seems like he is missing that step, that explosiveness, that just extra gear that he needs to close things up and to swat the ball away. And so for me with Emmanuel Forbes is you make up with that with instincts. You make up with that with knowledge of the game, knowing when something's happening. But also we have to identify that he did not have a bad game, so to speak. That dude Peasley put that ball in a perfect freaking spot. He actually played good defense on him. He had other good snaps as well, was coming up making tackles. So Emmanuel Forbes has I think he's coming off way better than he was before. but it just seems like he's not having that safety help, and he just needs a little bit more burst behind him, being in instincts as well. Just my personal opinion.
Yeah, you guys kind of hit it on the head with like his physical attributes and like just his style. But he's also like I'll add, he's also kind of he's a risk taker. I think similar to like how D'Angelo Hall was towards it.
Yep.
Not only except he didn't have the size and stuff to do that. So when there's contested balls, it's kind of hard for him. I would imagine to win a lot of those. But that's just that's how he is. I think my cool friend over here, Nick Akridge. I think he's the one who pointed out that Emmanuel Forbes actually played pretty good
Yeah, he
on
did.
Saturday. So
He
Nick,
did
go ahead,
indeed.
elaborate on that. You, what did you say you were, a 62.4?
Yeah, that was me being a little bit generous. It's probably more closer
No,
to under 60.
No, 62.4 out of 62.5. Maybe.
Nick,
Yeah, I
it's a
think you're my
pleasure.
biggest fan.
Thank
Nick,
you.
Thanks.
it's a pleasure. It's been a long time since we talked to you. Obviously, you've been on vacation, enjoying yourself in this hot summer. But dude, we got to get into the game yesterday. We got to get into Jayden Daniels. You're obviously a small sample size, but a lot of Washington fans are walking away excited. They are happy for the new start that we saw, and very, very exciting to say the least. So, from the first look of Jayden Daniels through the All 22, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked what I saw. There wasn't much to go off of. I mean, he had 3 passing snaps.
Which is perfect for a rookie quarterback, just saying, in one series.
Yeah, I mean the first miss was rough, the overthrow on the screen, but then he came back with a fantastic, perfect throw. I love that he checked to that call. Yeah, just everything about it was perfect. So nothing more you really need to see, and I guess we'll maybe see him again next week, and then just kind of wrap him up and wait for September.
Bro, speaking of perfect, Nick, I've never realized how great of a head of hair you have. And that's
Thank
not
you.
even me flirting anymore, dude. It's a solid head of hair. You don't
Yeah,
appreciate it until you get older.
it's the only good quality I have.
Yeah, I was about to say that too. That's crazy. But
The kind of
how
head
did
of
the
hair
offensive
Jamin
line?
Davis would respect, you know?
Yeah, there you go. How did the offensive line play as a whole? I mean, missing all those starters going up against a pretty good Jets pass rush. How do you think that they fared?
Yeah, a few of them stood out. Alex Taylor, Chris Paul, Braden Daniels all had some pretty good grades. Tyler Biotish was the same, but then some of them really struggled. Mason Brooks for one, Ricky Stromberg struggled a little bit.
Brooks was playing
Dieter
left
struggled.
tackle, right?
Left guard is what we have him listed here, but he might have been
Okay.
playing left tackle.
I think he was. I
gotta
saw him
double
in a
check.
tackle at one point, but then again, also
Um,
earlier, apparently, I thought Jerzon Newton played.
For
So
a third
fucking
string,
thought.
Mason Brooks was playing left tackle.
Yeah. So, I mean, there were some nice moments from a few guys, but, you never really know who they're going up against and the quality of there. But, yes, rough outing for a few guys, but, some really good play from guys I hadn't even really thought of, like Alex Taylor coming with an 82.0 overall grade looked pretty good.
Right. Do you think that it's been reported that throughout camp, Diami's been having a pretty good camp? Obviously, we just saw him make the catch, then Jayden dropped the dime to him on the checked play. Do you think this is finally the year that we say, oh, Diami stepped up, he had the breakout year, or do you think it's going to be kind of like an AG situation where every year we're like, this is the year, and then it was kind of just like, man.
Yeah, man, I sure hope so. I was a big De'Ami Brown fan coming out of college. And every single year here, he showed flashes, just like you said. It's a good point with bringing up the Antonio Gibson comparison. You see those little flashes, and you're like, all right, he's going to take that next step. So I really, really hope so this year. I think the biggest thing with him has been separation. And, there wasn't a lot of separation on that catch, but if you can kind of make up for that with your contested catch ability, that goes a long way. And it wasn't just that play. He had some other good routes that he ran, created some separation. So I really do hope he finally kind of figures it out, because I think this team is really kind of looking for a third wide receiver behind McLaurin and then Dotson, and maybe that could be De'Ami Brown, maybe that could be Luke McCaffrey. So I think he's got an opportunity, and I'd love to see him kind of capitalize on it.
Yeah, Nick, one thing that I think is getting oversighted, I'm not even sure if that's a word, but was Cliff Kingsbury's play calling, because personally the quarterbacks, besides Mariota, they played outstanding, man. They were quick, they were decisive, they put the ball where they needed to. There were no turnovers, obviously, from the quarterbacks. But just talk about Cliff's play calling altogether, because I just think that the day went smooth.
Yeah, it looked really good. I mean, poor Marcus Mariota got 3 snaps, and one of those was a blown up draw that he had no chance. But yeah, he didn't get to really show much there. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I think Jeff Driscoll played pretty well. Obviously, we already talked about Jayden Daniels, and Sam Hartman had some some nice throws as well. So I think it's a really good sign to start. I've had my reservations with Cliff. I've made that kind of known for a little bit. But I like what I've seen so far. Kind of obviously they're not going to show everything in preseason week one or even preseason week two, but kind of just sort of looking at, what he presents as an offense and really kind of looking into that and kind of hoping it turns out to something that's a little bit better than what he showed in Arizona. I think he kind of relied a lot on a lot of empty sets, screens, little motion, all that sort of stuff. But so far, so good. Obviously, he's not shown the whole thing, so hopefully that continues.
Yeah, and especially his play calling, it seemed to have purpose, and no disrespect to the coaches of previous. But, in that first drive with Jayden Daniels, they're doing the kind of read option running plays, right, where Jayden is handing it off, looking at the DN, seeing if he's collapsing or not. And Jayden does not keep it until that goal line touchdown. And so it kind of just like purpose behind it, just trying to make sure that they're forcing the defense into a mistake, and obviously they did there. So I think one of my biggest takeaways is that we actually finally have some thought process going behind some play calling here.
Yeah, and just some run plays in general. I mean, if you never listen, as an analytics guy, PFF guy, we don't like running the ball as much, but you do need to run it more than what happened last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just drop back. Here you go, Sam. Sorry, and you're just going to have to eat it, basically. So I do like the amount of runs I saw. Again, preseason week one, we don't know what the actual game plan is going to look like, but I definitely did enjoy what I saw from.
That's what I do in Madden, dude. People hate playing me because they're like, yeah, it's tied. We're doing pretty good in halftime. I'm like, just wait. I'm grinding out the clock, dude. 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Yeah, you're the type of person I hate playing.
Yep, exactly. And you would hate playing me all the time, I would say, because I would
he doesn't even play
grind you down. Kyle, stop. I do. No, I haven't played Madden in a long time. But anyway, back to before we got too distracted. How was Ben Sinnott? How was the tight end group in general, but specifically Ben Sinnott? I know he had that one long play where you really saw all the flashes of what people were excited about coming out.
Yeah, I liked Ben Sinnott, liked him coming out. Really love the draft pick. I looked pretty good. I mean, that's exactly the type of situation you want to use him in, kind of stretch that vertical seam a little bit more. And he looked really good there. It wasn't much of a contested route that he was on, but again, you just want to see him getting involved there. And I have to go back and watch kind of how the blocking was. I didn't pay too close attention to that. But yeah, overall seemed pretty good to start for him.
He did really well. He did with what he does well, like, because if you go back to his highlight with blocking, Nick, especially in college, it's on those end arounds out in space with momentum. He did a great job with those. It's much more so of the natural pass sets for tight ends, the run plays where he doesn't have the momentum with him, that he kind of struggled a little bit. You can see why he was kind of behind Cole Turner in that regard in snaps when he did play. But I think for the most part, for his first game, I think he did pretty well. But you see, I think they used him at his strengths when they needed to. Like there was one end around. I think was it Kaz Allen? It was somebody they took a wide receiver in motion, and he came around the formation, took the ball, and Ben Sinnott is actually the lead blocker on the outside for him, which is exactly what he did in college. And so they're going to their strengths, and they're doing a good job at it.
Analytic guys were talking.
I'm sorry. He said he didn't pay attention to blocking. I
did. Listen. I love watching the run game. I don't think there's anything better than a perfectly blocked run play. I think it's beautiful to watch. One of the things that I do with PFF is I'm a run game specialist, so I love this sort of stuff. But yeah, no. Speaking about Ben Sinnott, like in college, like you said, when he got just a little bit of a head start, when he was going forward, his blocking was great. Yep. When he had to take on the block, it was a little bit rough at times, but yeah, like you said, when he's going forward, he's great in the run game.
Jesus, Kyle,
how did Jamin Davis grade out? And from what you saw, do you think he'll be able to kind of make that transition to being an edge rusher, kind of what Joe Witt and Dan Quinn want him to do?
Yeah, there wasn't much there. I don't think he really made any sort of splash plays. We have him with a 59.8, which in our grading system of 60 is exactly average. So just very, very below that. I watched a bit of him as an edge rusher, and I think the one thing he's really kind of missing is like that get off. You can really see the difference with him and then the other, whatever edge rushers on the other side, he's just a more natural edge rusher. I think that just comes with more time, really, to kind of understand snap timings. You don't have to be that quick when you're a linebacker. There's just different keys, different things you're reading, all that sort of stuff. So I'm intrigued by it. I think it's the best way for him to obviously get some snaps out there with Lubu and Wagner kind of taking the linebacker spots. But I'm definitely intrigued by it. But first game of the preseason, nothing really stood out too much. I don't think he had a pressure. But yeah, no, I think just kind of working on that timing, working on that get off is kind of the big thing for him because he's just a natural athlete.
He was going against Olu. Obviously, the Jets' first-round pick, the left tackle, was playing for them, and obviously it's a tough assignment for him.
What are they doing with it? They signed Tyron Smith, they brought in Morgan Moses, and they had spent a first-round pick on. I know that they want to protect Rodgers, but that's 3 starting offensive tackles.
They're planning on him sitting for the first year, from what I've heard.
That's what I figured. I don't know. Them Penn State
teams
boys
love to overreact to certain things, and that was kind of going to happen with
maybe
with the Jets, even though that the sack that he got hurt on was his fault. But
right. Maybe if Aaron would have been vaccinated, that wouldn't have happened.
You said it, not me.
Terrible. Hall?
I just asked the Jamin Davis question.
Oh, my bad. Look at me screwing up already. My bad, Nick. Nick, to wrap this up, only a couple more questions for you, brother. But Jahan Dotson, he got a lot of snaps yesterday. How did he look in your eyes? Obviously, he's somebody that needs to continue to work himself into this lineup, but I think there was no question about it that he is our wide receiver too.
Yeah, he looked. It wasn't great at times. There were some tough reps out there. I had a chance to look over every single kind of passing snap, and he never really popped up too much. He played 32 snaps in the first game of the preseason. Is not the best look. But yeah, no, overall just wasn't creating much separation, kind of the same issues he had last year. So hopefully it's just a preseason week 1 thing and it's not too big of a deal. But yeah, it didn't look too great there for the first week.
All right, and I'm going to give you a layup here for the second question. Your biggest concern after the first preseason game?
Biggest concern is O-line biggest concern, let's go with, I was about to give you 2 there.
I'm looking for one in particular.
Let's go with secondary. I think secondary is a real problem. I think obviously we've talked about the O-line enough. I thought it was kind of made to be worse than it actually was last year because of the play calling and quarterback play and stuff. So, but secondary I think is a massive, massive problem. I did talk where we sort of touched on, Forbes having a pretty good day other than, getting beat for the touchdown, which was still good coverage, by the way. But yeah, I think the secondary overall is kind of the real question mark. And they're going to ask them to play a lot more. They played a ton of man coverage yesterday, which could just be, again, a preseason week 1 thing. But yeah, so they're going to play a ton of man coverage. I think there's a lot of questions in the secondary, especially those outside corners.
Yeah, I was aiming it for the kicking game. Obviously, Ramiz Ahmed was the only one to make a field goal yesterday, the 40-yarder. Riley Patterson hit the upright for the other one. I would say that that's probably my biggest concern at this point. I do think that something is going to happen there. Now, to wrap this up, brother, I have one more question for you. Undrafted free agent watch. There's probably everyone's going to say the one name. He's been lighting it up on the special teams, on defense. He's all over the field. What have you seen out of those guys?
I'm assuming you're talking about Tyler Owens.
Yes.
Yeah, no, he had a good game. Obviously, the special teams tackle was great. 78.1 overall grade and 34 snaps is pretty good in your first preseason game. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on. I think, obviously, again, I just touched on the secondary issues that we have, and I think you just need more depth there. So I think Owens is a great look. And I don't know how to say this guy's name. Chigozie Anusiam. That's another undrafted guy, right?
Yeah.
Sounds right to me.
I think nailed that, honestly. He looked pretty good. Again, I watched all the kind of the coverage snaps, and he looked pretty good in man coverage. They played a lot of it, so that was kind of promising to see. So again, the 2 secondary guys kind of stood out to me.
Absolutely. What about St. Hartman's attractive self?
Well, I mean, he just needs to walk out on the field, and everyone's going to fall in love with him. So that's all you need to see.
So good looking. What the hell?
Might be the first person to play without a helmet on.
Yeah, I'd be okay with it. I'd say this is must-see TV. Not because I hope he gets hurt, but because I hope they protect that gorgeous face that he has.
But now that we're talking about special teams, real quick, Nick, with the new rules for kick return and kickoffs, what did you think of it?
Yeah, it's weird, man. So I'm kind of used to it just because we collect data for the XFL, UFL, all the different spring leagues that they've had, and they've been doing this for a while. It's definitely weird. I think it's going to take a lot of getting used to, but I think it's going to be a lot better. You're going to see. You've already seen a lot more returns.
Yep.
They either kind of needed to do this or just get rid of the kickoff in general because every kickoff was going for a touchback. So either get rid of it completely and put it at the 25, or do something like this where you get a chance to return it. It's going to look weird. It's going to look made up like an XFL thing because it is, but I think it's the best way to kind of keep the return game in the NFL and not have people getting killed every single time there's a kickoff.
You're absolutely right. Nick, I can't thank you enough for joining us. And Tress Way, man, coming up late in the woods. That's what I'm talking about, dude. That's what I'm talking about. Nick, before you get out of here, just like to plug your social media handle, just in case anybody watching hasn't followed you yet, sir, and would like to yell at you.
Yeah, at PFF_Nick, Akridge is how you spell last name. Yeah, I'll be posting a lot more. I'm going to hopefully try to do some articles this season. Not 100% sure about that. I say that every year, and then I get way too much work during the week, and it just never works out. But
yeah, you keep living your life.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I try to stay away from football when I.
Oh no! Right,
it's funny, Nick. Nick, you're kind of Mel Kiper-esque in a way because you come around during football season, you pushing it hard, and you get it, and then you'll disappear for a while, but then you'll come back. And there's nothing wrong with being like Mel Kiper, the Baltimore Owl.
That's my goal, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't give a hoot. You
I
got
watch
a better head
way
of
too
hair
much
than him.
football during August to January, and
yeah, Nick certainly is not having that vampire haircut, of course.
Yeah.
Nick, have a good night, brother. Enjoy the week.
Guys.
Have a good one, brother. All right, everybody, we just spoke with the man, Mr.
All right,
Nick
see you guys.
Akridge. Peace. We just talked to the man. I'm sorry about his internet was clogging up there at the very end, which is good timing. We'll say that because. And I'm sorry I had to cut you off on your Manuel Forbes answer. Do you have anything to add for Scoot, Reed? No.
I got enough. No.
All right. Now the next question we have is from your not your average fly guy. He said, at this point, I think we can all rejoice that DQ didn't listen to Joe Theismann. My question for the pod is, I'd like y'all to describe and discuss the mental fortitude JD had to have on his first third down in the NFL in his first NFL game and makes the executive decision to check to the play that made us all notice of things to come. How well does JD have the offense down? How well does he trust Diami? And how often can JD execute the offense and change up the play called versus defenses? What defenses are showing him, Reed?
I think that Jayden Daniels, that's huge. Like being a rookie quarterback and coming in here and knowing that you're not going to play much, he just like he's going through the rhythms. Like he's like, all right, this is a dress rehearsal. This is what I got to do, and this is going on, so I'm going to do it right now, and we're going to get it down. And that's what he did. Nobody had a problem with it. The only people that have a problem with it is local media and some fans that want to overreact to everything. I think everybody else is like, yes, please keep doing that. Do that as often as you can, even if it doesn't work out every time, because it won't. You see every good quarterback doing that. So the fact that he's already that advanced mentally as a young quarterback, I think that's awesome. Continue to do that. Build that, flex that muscle, dude. Get it jacked. You know what I'm saying? And be Peyton Manning out there every play, just being like, this is what we're going to do. Know the defense like that. I love it. I don't remember the rest of the question. I'm just saying I like it. It's cool.
No, I think you answered it perfectly right. And the funny thing was, against the Jets in joint practices, like I think the stat line was like 4 or 5, I think for like 15 yards, I think he had thrown for. So a lot of short stuff in joint practices. And so you could think that would, Fly Guy, that would mess with his confidence going into this game, saying, I got to ease myself into it. Facing that first third down and then having the cojones to say, no, we're not doing a wide receiver screen. I'm putting this on Diami on a go route. I'm going to put it on the dot for him to catch it. I mean, I think it says a lot about who Jayden is. And I think at this point, I think we're all well aware of what Jayden's capabilities are with the playbook. Everyone and their mother has been saying that this kid has been studying it like crazy. And I think it's evident by now that not only does he have the fortitude to say, no, we're changing it to this, but he has the confidence to be able to do that on a pivotal down in his first game and put it on a dot when knowing what is at stake, basically. Just talking about like the whole social media sphere simulation that we live in currently, and he's able to put that where it needs to be. I think it says a heck of a whole lot about Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, I think he has a lot of faith, and obviously he showed a lot of faith in Diami to throw that pass up to him, put it exactly where only he could get to it and catch it. And I think it just goes back to just him having a lot of trust in all his guys because going back to college, he loved throwing those go routes and those fade routes. So if you're a guy that's going to be able to get down the field, stretch the field vertically, I think he's going to give you a chance no matter what receiver's out there because that's a pass that he excels in is throwing the downfield, the go routes and the fade routes. So definitely think he has a lot of faith in Diami, and he definitely showed it on Saturday. And as far as like him having the mental fortitude to check out the play, first third down in the NFL, I mean, it just goes to show you that to this point, like Dan Quinn was talking about, how he's exceeded his expectations. It just goes to show you that right there that he's exceeded expectations because he knows the playbook. He knows like, okay, I can check to this play. I know my checks. I know my audibles. I know my pre-snap looks, my post-snap looks. So it's definitely he's definitely ahead of schedule. I feel like as far as the mental reps, a guy like Sauce Gardner said as well. Like you like to play rookie quarterbacks, but this guy's developed. He knows what he's doing out there. So it's not like you're actually really playing a rookie quarterback. So love to hear that from one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and I love that Jay went out there and showed him that hey, I'm already mentally here as far as like processing and knowing what I got to do pre-snap. And now it's just about getting better, getting more mental reps at that, and hopefully putting that to work week one and throughout the season.
And
Yeah,
just to,
Saul said he was going to be nice, man. He said he's going to be nice, man. And Kyle, that means that he's going to be very good.
oh,
And
thank you.
also,
Appreciate that.
just another tidbit, interesting nugget. His first completion at Arizona State was 42 yards up the right sideline, just a beautiful dime. So, hey, I'm here for it.
Yeah, and to elaborate further on your point, Hall, about just the processing and knowing pre-snap what's happening, the Jets showed press man across the board. So they were up on the wide receivers, about to jam them when they came off. And when you think about a wide receiver screen, that's the worst situation you want to walk into on a wide receiver screen. And so having the knowledge to say, okay, you want to do that, let's play bump and run then. And so what you're going to do is you're going to force that go route. And like we said, the low percentage shot, having the cojones to be able to say, yeah, we're going on that go route. Everyone go. Diami, I'm going to put this on you. I think it says a lot about Diami as well. But Jayden Daniels, with that processing, without a doubt, I think it's concrete to say that he's getting a lot. He's showing us a lot. And, of course, we have to wait until week one, going against the starters and everything like that. But up until this point, I mean, he's checking all the boxes. Now, let's go to our question by the Colonel. It's a really good one. Hall, I was pleasantly surprised by Alamade Zacchaeus yesterday. Who were the players that made you raise your eyebrows that you hadn't necessarily considered making the team?
Not making the team. I mean, honestly, going back to the beginning of camp, especially after they drafted Luke McCaffrey, they signed Zacchaeus. I thought that De'Ami Brown was a guy that was going to be on the bubble. They brought back Jamison Crowder.
Can you pick somebody else?
No,
just
not
because
really.
his next question is about De'Ami.
Oh, all right. Well, somebody I thought that would get cut that is like kind of flashed. I'd say Cole Turner. I mean, he didn't get any. I don't think that he got any receptions or like any.
He had
That
one
block,
called
though?
back. He had one called back on a flag. He had another on a tight end screen that he got a couple yards on, but he would have had 2 catches for, I think, 20 yards.
But I'm not even worried about the
block on
reception
the
part.
JD touchdown.
Because whenever we had him on, he said even going back to last year with the offense last year, he didn't get a lot on the field a lot because of he wasn't really strong enough to block, and he wasn't really like a blocking guy. Had to get better at the blocking. So to see him drive, even though he's a huge dude and he's like a little cornerback or whatever, secondary dude, for him to see him drive him into the back of the end zone, get him squared up and just ham on him into the back of the end zone, and actually not really that he sprung Jayden Daniels around the corner, but it definitely helps Jayden Daniels get around the corner for that. So definitely Cole Turner with his blocking. You can see that he's gotten better with that. He's been working on it, so good for him. And I definitely think that with them already cutting Amani Rodgers, obviously they're going to keep the 3 top guys, Sennett, Ertz, and Bates. I think Cole Turner has a chance to be that 4th tight end, maybe on the practice squad because of the reps that he's getting and better with blocking. So I'll say Cole Turner.
Yeah, if you go to my Twitter at the Burgundy Zone, I uploaded a couple film clips from the game yesterday, and one of them being a run play where Cole Turner is lined up one-on-one with the D end and actually does a very good job of sealing him out to the outside. Cole Turner has gotten a lot better with his blocking, and multiple times that they use him on run blocks and he was doing a very good job at it. So Cole just needs to keep working hard. Colson Yankoff has not really impressed me all too much with his blocking in the first game yesterday. Obviously, Benson, it just has a little bit more ways to go, but man, that guy's going to be a fantastic professional. But Cole Turner needs to continue getting better, but as of right now, I'm very impressed with his work habits and what he's done. Now, for me, Colonel, one player that I thought was on the bubble that, I've talked a lot of crap about this player, but I was very surprised by how impressive he looked, and that's Braden Daniels at right tackle. My goodness, he did a fantastic job in his pass reps and his run blocking. He did an exceptional job of being able to keep Sam Hartman clean, sealing off that backside, not having many chips to help him in that regard, but he did a great job and just not being a liability. And I think Braden Daniels, somebody, because at one point I asked myself, why is Mason Brooks playing left tackle and not Braden Daniels? Well, that's because he's playing right tackle, and he's doing a damn good job at it. Chris Paul deserves a hat tip as well. He came out starting at right tackle, then was playing right guard for the second and third team. He did a phenomenal job. There's one play with Jeff Driscoll where he drives the defensive tackle 8 yards back, just washes him out for a run play, that the same one that Cole Turner blocked at the end. Just a fantastic job by the O-line thus far. But the one player that has really impressed me just by watching all 22 from yesterday was Braden Daniels. I think that he did a fantastic job. Just given with what my opinion was going into that game of him, he impressed me a heck of a whole lot.
Yeah, those are all great answers, fantastic answers. But the right answer is Jeff Driscoll. I didn't expect Jeff Driscoll to play like that, dude. Jeff Driscoll balled out a little bit.
He did.
And I mean, Sam Hartman played fantastic, obviously, but I knew my knight in shining armor would play well. But Jeff Driscoll, man, he played well, dude. I was excited about that, especially. I mean, we see Jayden go in there. He does what he does. He does his thing, and the opening drive, he comes out. Mariota goes 3 plays and he's out of there, and all of a sudden Driscoll comes in. He's dropping the dimes all the way down the field, and you like to see it. You love to see it.
Yeah, there was one play where an edge rusher, they do a stunt, and the stunt guy gets a free rush at Jeff Driscoll, and he stands in the pocket, delivers that fastball to Diami to pick up the first down, that gets hit in the chin strap, just completely demolished by the DN. But just that was one of those plays like, wow, that's a tough son of a gun, dude.
Yeah. What did that do to you when you saw that?
Shut up.
You're all about tough guys. You said
all about tough guys. But it honestly very impressive with all the quarterbacks. I think that this offensive coaching staff, we've had a lot of question marks, but I think yesterday just speaks that whatever they are preaching and teaching, it's hitting home, because all 3 of those guys were operating at high efficiency yesterday, and it was very quick. It was decisive. They knew where they were going, and they were putting the ball where they needed to. So I will say, very impressive with the quarterbacks. And even when they ran the ball, it wasn't like it was a long, elongated play. They were making a quick decision, getting upfield, getting the yardage and the first downs that they needed. I'm very impressed with the quarterbacks yesterday. Next question, Reed, this is from the Colonel. Following Diami Brown's play of the day against the Jets, do you still consider him on the bubble, or is he a lock for the 53? You see now?
No, I would imagine that he's got to be. I mean, just with what we've seen so far during camp and how he went out there and showed out, he's got to be close to a lock, at least as wide receiver 4, like one of the backup outside wide receivers. If you're going to have Zacchaeus as a case, however you say that gladiator style name, as your slot wide receiver, and McCaffrey, I mean, you got to imagine that Diami's played his way onto this roster. He's going to. He's very close, if not. And you got to love that for him, because they used to be, like we've talked about it 1,000 times, it used to be wide receivers were expected to take 4 years to really develop and really be good. Now, these days, they're expected to just come right out and play football and play it at a high level. And that's not always the case. I mean, you got to, sometimes it takes guys a little bit longer. So you like to see that he's putting in the work, and it showed on the first preseason game.
Yes, you're absolutely right. With Diami, I think he is a lock to make the 53 at this point. He's worked his ass off to get here, and I think he needs to continue working his ass off. Some people on Twitter are saying, oh, well, he always does well in preseason, but he never just shows up in the regular season. Like, the guy had a 2-touchdown game at one point. Don't say, I know I'm just being a stickler, but, just don't say never. I hate that kind of verbiage. Don't say never, because he has, okay? But when you go back to his college game with Sam Howell, he was putting up ridiculous numbers running verts, running go routes, hitting deep down the field. And that's something that Jayden Daniels specializes in. So if this is the right time for Miami to be hitting that stride with the right quarterback. And so if they have a good relationship with one another, that's nothing but great news for Miami. And look, we need weapons. And I've said this, I've been on record for saying this, that a good quarterback makes wide receivers. That's just what happens. And so let it develop. Let Jayden Daniels really show you the untapped potential of this wide receiving core. And I truly believe that he's capable of doing that, especially given his skill set and what he can do and the accuracy of his footballs. Because Miami, one thing that was said about him was he struggled catching downfield and he struggled being able to hold on to the football. Did a pretty damn good job yesterday. And so if Jayden, you keep feeding him the ball, you keep putting it in the right spot, hopefully Diamond will keep coming down with it, but he's got to keep working hard. But I do think he is a lock, but obviously that lock is not very tight.
Hey, real fast, I gotta help get James to bed, so I gotta take off. It's almost like I'm like a responsibility. So I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Hey,
Whatever.
hey, you guys be good. I'm watching you. I know what you're up to, Kyle.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. I know.
I know
You
what you did.
watched.
I know what you did last night, Reed. I'm not gonna tell anybody. It's all right.
What I did is I said, what could Sam Hartman do to me? What do I think? Hold me like a
right.
lawn chair.
Please give. Stupid.
Jeez, so crazy.
Do you want to answer that? Because I cut you off before.
Yeah. I was saying before. I think that he was one of those guys after they signed Zacchaeus, they draft Luke McCaffrey. They bring back Jamison Crowder because of the punt return and punt return ability. So you would already kind of figure like, okay, those 4 or 5 guys are probably going to be locks, and it was going to be between like guys like Diami and Kaz Allen, those type of guys. And you can definitely see that Diami's been putting the work in. Like you said, he's been doing the 500 balls, catching 500 balls off the jugs machine, and you can definitely see he's been putting the work in. He's been working his butt off, and look, I was one of those people that was like, oh, he does this every preseason. Like he shows up in camp, he shows up in preseason, makes plays, makes flashes, and then you get to the regular season, and it's kind of like he's only had 29 catches in the 3 years he's been here so far. So I definitely think that the offenses he's been in had something to do with it. I do think the quarterback play has something to do with it, obviously. Unless you're a guy like Terry who can thrive through any quarterback, there's going to be obviously you're going to need a connection with the quarterback. So hopefully Jayden Daniels is that guy that's going to be able to unlock him. And I was definitely not even just Jayden Daniels. I would say that Cliff Kingsbury hopefully is the guy that can be able to unlock him because of the vertical downfield passing game that Cliff likes to play with. And obviously Jayden Daniels specializes in those downfield throws. So, and he's a speed guy as well. So hopefully everything kind of meshes and comes together at once this year. And he does take that step because obviously, like we all said, we need some help on the outside with Terry. So if Dotson and Diami can definitely step up this year with Zach Ertz and guys like that in the middle of the field being the safety blanket, I definitely think this offense will be able to move up and down the field and put some points on the board.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now let's head to the Discord for some more questions. This first one from Deluxe. Hall wasn't going to do it, but snap counts. What are your thoughts? Personally, just think they wanted to get more work for some that could benefit. Don't think it necessarily reflects depth chart standing.
Yeah, I'm not going to say there's any type of reflection on the first preseason game. Now, if this was the third preseason game and a guy like Dotson's in there still playing 30-something snaps, and then that's when I would kind of have my eyebrow raised, like, okay, what's going on here? Because a guy that's a lock for the team is not going to really not going to be getting that many snap counts in a third preseason game where the third game is basically like the fourth game, like used to be nowadays, where nobody really plays in that. It's really for the bottom of the roster guys that kind of show and prove to the rest of the league or to the current team, like, hey, this is why you should keep me. So, yeah, if it was a third game, I would kind of have my eyebrow raised with Dotson, and I guess that's probably who you're mainly talking about because he was in there for 30-something snaps. So I don't make nothing of it now. Obviously, with the year that Dotson had last year, I'm just pointing Dotson out because he's the first one in my mind. With the year that Dotson had last year, I would hope that he's telling the coaches like, hey, I want to get the reps. I want to get on the field. I want to kind of show and prove that I can bounce back and have a year like I did my rookie year or better. So, yeah, I don't really have a problem with it. Second preseason game, they're going to probably play maybe a first quarter or a quarter and a half. But when we get to that third preseason game against, I believe it's the Patriots, and you see guys that are supposed locks or maybe not locks or still out there playing, that's when I might have my eyebrow raised or something like that.
I agree with you. With the snap counts for Jahan, I think that they layered it in a certain way so that the quarterbacks had a good amount of work with not good wide receivers, just
The better wide receivers.
cemented wide receivers. So they actually had ability to orchestrate the offense, right? And because a lot of people have talked about the depth of wide receiver and things like that, but I think that that's one of the reasons why Jahan got more work at wide receiver, just so Driscoll had somebody that he was used to, like almost being the Terry McLaurin for Jeff Driscoll, if that makes sense. So I'm not putting all that much into it, but I will say Jahan needs to work on his run blocking. Look, he's not known to be a run blocker, right? But you can't be the reason why a run play gets blown up. Just being honest with you. That's not a good look. It's about effort for run blocking with wide receivers. I wholeheartedly believe in Jahan Dotson's talent level. All I'm saying is we just need a little bit more to make sure that we can actually orchestrate the offense. You know what I'm saying?
You know who's a really good run blocker? Brandon Ayuk. Just saying.
You're right. Hey, when you're right, you're right. I'm not going to argue with you. But also, Mike Davis was playing into the second quarter, if I'm not mistaken. I saw 24 out there. And so that's somebody that people have speculated is going to be the starting corner on the opposite of Benjamin St-Juste. So something else to monitor. It's not like it's just Jahan Dotson. There's other guys out there that are playing. Jordan McGee was playing, I think, into the third quarter himself. And that's somebody people have been talking about possibly playing out there. Jeremy Chin is lightning fast, man.
Yeah.
Seeing him trail on plays. Mike Sainer still coming off the line of scrimmage across field, being able to make plays. Very impressive. And Jeremy Reeves, man, my goodness, did he show out. I go to my Twitter feed, a couple of those film clips, two of them about Jeremy Reeves. And just the way that he plays a game of football is how you're supposed to play it. I just love the guy a lot. The next question from Deluxe. Not including the playtime of players. Oh, sorry, not this one. What is one thing that each of you gained clarity of from watching the game? Anything from a player, scheme, depth chart, coaching, or anything else?
I'd probably say I gained clarity that I'm not going to say it's cemented, but I'm pretty sure the cement has been laid down and it's in the process of drying that De'Ami Brown is probably going to be the third receiver for this team. And I would say that, the more that he's out there, the more that he gets confidence from Jayden and Cliff to be out there. And the more that he makes like splash plays, like one-handed catches and whatnot, and joint practices and the games, I think that, I think that the cement has pretty much been laid down. It's starting to dry on De'Ami Brown being that the third receiver for this team.
For me, the clarity more so in just what they're preaching from a coordinator standpoint. I've talked about it many times already, but just the way that they were able to move the ball downfield consistently for each unit. They didn't seem overwhelmed. They came in with a plan. They executed that plan. They were able to move the ball. Obviously, we didn't win the game, but with a defense, that Emmanuel Forbes touchdown is probably the only one that you can really point to say somebody got behind them, and it was barely half a step that he was off on him, right? And going back to last season, losing guys behind you happened constantly all the time. And so you're really seeing from a coordinator standpoint what they're implementing, and it's working. They're doing a good job of playing defense, keeping everything in front of them, even going as far as Tyler Owens, who has to come back as free safety sometimes, seeing them show one safety pre-snap and then switching to two deep. It's really cool to see all of this. And then from the offensive coordinator standpoint, the run plays that they're executing, even though we don't have everybody in there, they don't have everybody in there, but they're able to move the football on the ground. And it's not just running it up the middle, it's moving it to the outside, getting guys moving, using purpose in that regard to kind of force the defense one way and then have the ball go somewhere else. I think they've done a very good job at this point. So my clarity more so is being cemented that we have the right coordinators, the right coaches in the spots that they are, and this was a fantastic test for this team to get better because they have a long list of things that they can get better at. But from the, I guess you could say the foundational standpoint, it's resonating, and guys are getting it. Things are clicking in that sense. Next question. This one is from Andy Lockhart in the Discord from the 1 Point Safety Show. Oi!
Boy.
Question is Rodriguez a serious candidate for being cut after seeing him in last night's game?
Um, I don't know if it's a serious candidate, but he's definitely a guy that you should keep your eye on. I know going into the year, a lot of people had high hopes of him being like that third guy behind Robinson and Eckler, and then they bring in McNichols, and obviously McNichols has gotten a little bit more run than Rodriguez has to this point. Seems like in practices and in this first preseason game. I thought that kind of like Ben Sinnott, where you can't really show like your physicality and what you can do as far as like everything you bring to the game in practice because it's practice. You're not really going like 100% full speed. So I think that Ben Sinnott got on the field and showed like, hey, I can block, like you said, I can get on the edges and block. I can go up the seams and break tackles, and I got good hands and whatnot. So I thought that Chris Rodriguez would get in the game and show like his physicality, how he runs the football, and his patience behind the line to kind of hit the hole and then get up in the hole and put, like I said, play physical at the line. So, but he hasn't really got a lot of run so far, and yeah, I think that they're kind of favoring McNichols because he can catch the ball a little bit better, probably out the backfield. He's a guy that can maybe use on the kick returns and whatnot. So as of right now, yeah, I would definitely say keep your eyes out on Chris Rodriguez and maybe get cut and then probably bring him back for like the practice squad or something like that.
Wiley had a great game.
Wiley had a good game as well.
8 carries, 34 yards, and a touchdown that he had with Sam Hartman at quarterback, which was a walk-in off of Jayden Daniels, who took the D end outside. Right guard Chris Paul did a great job of putting that crease on the inside to allow it to be so easy for Wiley. But I think Wiley himself is a great pass blocker. I think Ryan Fowler had tweeted that out. So they've done a good job with what they've brought in. I'm not going to say Chris Rodriguez is threatened whatsoever, just because how ferocious he is with the ball in his hands. He is a hard runner, man. And that's somebody you kind of need in those situations if you are on the goal line. If B-Rob needs a break, obviously we believe in Austin Eckler, but just saying that you need some relief in that regard, just helping being able to get some points for you. Now the next question from Tim Towner. JD5 is QB1, no surprise there. Hartman also looked good and should be targeted for practice squad. And that leaves Mariota and Driscoll. How do you think Driscoll looked yesterday, and do you think he has a shot at QB2? I kind of liked what I saw.
Yeah, he definitely looked good. Obviously, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Mariota only had 3 plays, and one of them, like you said, was like a blown-up play. But even just going back to practice, a lot of people said that Mariota has kind of looked not like the Mariota of the past couple of years of like his younger days. I would say that. And so I would definitely say that I'm not going to say Driscoll has a leg up on him as far as like the second string quarterback or whatnot, because they clearly bought Marcus Mariota here to be the second string quarterback. And he has a relationship with Brian Robinson. He knows Savita Pritchard. So I would say that as of for right now, he's locked in as a second guy. I definitely think that Driscoll is going to be the third guy. Hartman will probably be the reserve practice squad guy or whatever. But yeah, I like what I saw from Driscoll. This guy's been in the league for a couple of years now. He's an athletic guy going back to his Florida days. So, yeah, he looked good. I mean, obviously, there's a reason why he's like a third stringer, but it's good to have some depth on your team where you don't have to change the offense up for certain guys with like certain type of play styles. It seems like everyone in the room has that kind of athletic ability to them to kind of keep the offense rolling if something happens. So,
Great
definitely
job.
like what Driscoll did out there.
Yeah, what a great point by you. Just that all the quarterbacks kind of executed exactly how the offense is supposed to go and just used their legs to extend things to get the extra yardage. Absolutely right, and obviously Mariota fits that bill. But I will without a doubt say there is no quarterback competition for QB1. I think it's very obvious at this point. We know that. But there is a glaring competition for QB2. And I am confident in saying that right now just based on how Jeff Driscoll played yesterday. Obviously, I think he threw for less than 50%. If I'm looking at it, 7 of 15 for 87 yards. But I think really what goes into it is just being able to execute the offense. You saw how quick he was and decisive with the football. I think that goes a heck of a long way. And obviously them pulling Mariota after one series of those 3 snaps kind of tells you how they feel about them. I don't see them every day in practice. I don't know how they're looking and all that jazz. All I'm saying is I was very impressed with what I saw to Jeff Driscoll, and I would really like to see them battle it out for QB2 because I think that would be very exciting. And, iron sharpens iron, so to speak. You want to be able to have that extra little oomph with the QB2 in case something were to happen. But it's a great question, Tim. But I do think that Jeff, I'm very impressed with all the quarterbacks yesterday. I can't say that enough. They all executed the offense very well, just in the terms of how many times did you see guys just sitting back there going, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? No, they were all very decisive, got the ball out of their hands, and that's exactly what you want to see. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. But before we get out of here, the kick returns yesterday. Kaz Allen had one for 32 yards in return. Byron Pringle was the other one return for 26 yards. For punt return, Davion Davis, 3 returns for 18 yards, and Olamide Zacchaeus, 1 punt return for 19 yards. So just keep that in mind. So we've seen 4 separate returners thus far, and obviously they're being stuck to their certain one, but something to keep an eye on. All right, everybody, we will see you again on Wednesday. Make sure you do not miss it. We love you guys. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you then. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Too bad reason I hear. I'm glad that we got rid of the Sam Hartman love. Too much of it, in my opinion. All right, everybody. Washington football. Woo!
Peace.
What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.